welcome to Xena, Warrior Podcast. My name is Vera, and I'm joined, as always, by my two barbarous co-hosts, Katie. Hi. You have a mouthful of drink.
Hello.
And Livy.
I'm just getting some coins ready for today.
Oh, for today, yeah. It's going to be ringing.
Okay.
The jar. I said your name, right?
Yes.
Okay, just
Hello.
making sure you're also on this podcast.
Yes, they haven't fired me yet.
You are still here. Happy New Year, everyone!
Woo! Yeah, we're back to business as usual this week.
Yeah, and I hope Santa Claus brought everyone some amazing, like, little lamb toys or whatever.
Oh, some little Jesus symbols for their very own.
Or cool if you were bad. But today we are here to talk about Xena.
Yes, that's usually what we're
happens.
here for.
Wow.
The holidays.
I think
It's been a
You're nursing
while.
your holiday hangover.
Yeah.
What is Xena?
What is it? Yeah. What is a Xena? Wait a second. Before Xena, we have Alanis.
Hello.
Alanis, what have you got for us today?
Thank you, everyone, for having me. Thank you, Vera. Thank you, Katie.
You're welcome, Alan. Can I call you that?
No.
Okay, just checking. Go for it.
Thank you, Austin.
Thank you.
Woo! Thank you. Bye, Alanis.
Bye. All right. So, 411, daughter of Pomira. Oh boy, let's do this.
Okay.
Written by Linda McGibney and directed by Patrick Norris.
who are
Who is this? New phone. Who dis?
Both newbies to the Xenoverse. Linda McGigney has also written for Rizzoli and Isles.
Yes.
and Stargate SGU.
Okay.
Is that what we call that?
I loved Stargate SGU.
And Powers and Outsiders. Those are her most recent credits. She's still writing lots of stuff.
Okay, good for you, Linda.
Patrick is also still working today, has directed all sorts of major shows, including Quantico,
Okay.
Parenthood, iZombie,
Gotcha.
Heart of Dixie, Pretty Little Liars, Gossip Girl,
All
Chuck,
All right.
Greek, Friday Night Lights,
Oh.
Vampire Diaries,
Gosh, she's all over the place.
VOC,
Yes.
Guys,
Roswell, yeah,
Oh, man.
Dawson's Creek.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
His very first directorial credit is My So-Called Life.
Oh,
Which
very
episode?
nice.
So this is Resolutions.
I don't know
Okay.
that one. That's not a big Ryan episode. I mean, unless it is, and I just don't remember.
Sounds New Year's-y.
So yeah, this is a
Wow.
new team, but they're both very experienced.
Are they
television people.
gonna? Is this their only Xenas
This
for both?
is, I believe, their only Xenas. Yes.
Okay, good,
So,
good one, guys.
Maybe that tells you a little something about how this partnership is going to work out.
Okay.
The viewer saying this episode is fairly well received on whoosh.org circles.
I was super surprised because, spoiler alert, nobody at this table likes this episode. And yet, yeah, when I looked to see the fan reaction at the time, it was fairly positive. I wonder if it's because it's a bit of a throwback, just in terms of the kind of
Yes.
mood of it. And, like, I mean that in a bad way. Yeah, this feels like a sort of sloppy early season 2 episode. Like, it just, it's very derivative of a bunch of things, most notably The Searchers. And the it has a moral dilemma, but it's very phony to me. Like, you know it's gonna work out okay.
Yeah,
Right.
that makes sense. It was less bad the second time watching it than I remembered, but it's still not so
Still
hot.
not great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you guys missing the Horde?
What do you mean? Oh,
Like, were you like sitting
the
around being, I wish
presents?
the Horde was back?
Missing you, babes. Bring me some Kaltaka. I'm thirsty.
What?
It's my song for the Horde.
Okay.
What do you mean? Like the way
Well-
they are portrayed in the price?
No, I mean, like,
No.
to me, the show has, like, gone away from that
Oh,
stuff.
missing
Missing, like,
why
this-
is
why
this
is
back?
the Horde back?
I see. Oh. No, I was not thinking about the Horde in any capacity.
Well, Rob was.
we often think about the price, though, because it's a great episode. And even
That's
as
true.
recently as Past and Perfect, when the soldiers came out of the water, we were like, oh, the Horde. So
I think the
it casts a
price,
shadow.
though, in the difference here is that the price is about Xena, and this episode is about nothing
Vanessa.
in particular.
It's about a little girl named Vanessa.
Like, it's very deeply about Xena. I think you had it in your top 10. We all had top 10 for the price, yeah.
I mean, that's a moral dilemma that feels more raw. Like, it's just really upsetting. And with the pressure it puts on Xena and Gabs, and here that's much more kind of superficial. Like, you do have Gabs weirdly questioning herself and her decision making, but it's just they don't take it all the way. Like, I feel like if Gabs had been responsible for something really terrible, like if her pushing for them to return Vanessa to her parents had led to a war, that would have been interesting. But they don't go there. They don't want to go there.
Yep.
So this to me can't be classic Xena, because I think a classic Xena episode tends to be messier in terms of the morality. Look at, like, A Good Day so recently, where, even the best intentions still lead to horrible consequences. This episode, to me, was so neatly wrapped up. Like, the worst thing that happens is that world's worst human, Milo, dies.
Oh my god! I blacked him out, and now you reminded me of him.
You blocked him out. You're about to talk about.
I haven't gotten to him in my notes yet.
Should we dive in and break this one down for people?
Sure. Do you wanna do that, Liv?
Oh my god, the plot of this episode?
Yeah.
I mean, it's fairly simple.
Yeah.
It's that there is this girl who is the daughter of one of Xena's lieutenants from 10 years ago, but I think it's actually
Lord Darkenrawl.
Lord Darkenrawl,
lieutenant.
but from 6 years ago.
Right, that was mind-blowing, guys. That was mind-blowing.
Only 6 years.
Not only that, but her in the flashback doing it was so weird to see, because she wasn't quite evil Xena, and she wasn't
wearing her regular
outfit. She was
outfit.
just in the regular outfit, but made a crazy face once
and murdered a guy.
And we were supposed to be that's Xena from 6 years ago.
Yeah. It was really off-putting. I mean, I kind of liked it in that, so often we go to Xena from 10 years ago and she looks so different. Her costume is so different. The performance is so different that people do make this mistake that, we're always raging about, of thinking of them as two different people. And here, you just couldn't do that.
But it didn't reckon with Hercules Xena. That's the thing.
They needed to get those dragon shoulder
bangs back. She needed to have the floofy bang, Kelly Kapowski bangs.
So I was more shocked by her killing, just knifing that guy who's like, no, the horde, we're too scared, we gotta go back. She's like, we don't go back, you're dead. I was shocked by that, because she looks like our Xena, and there was a part of me that was up until that moment was just confused and thought this might have been a flashback to something else.
Right.
Not to Xena being a warlord, just to last week on Xena Warrior Princess. So when that happened, I was like, oh shit, this is bad Xena. Oh, I'm upset now, because I don't often see this character looking like this, doing things like this.
We're going to discuss the episodes, overall plot, but we sort of jumped into discussing the episode.
So Rawl, we were talking about Darkenrawl.
Darkenrawl. Yeah. So, okay. Darkenrawl has a kid with his wife, Adia.
She's a great healer.
A great healer. This kid gets kidnapped by the Horde. Xena and Gabs find this kid, and Gabs has the great idea to kidnap her back.
Right.
Because that's what you do.
Yeah.
When, someone from your people ends up elsewhere. You gotta get them back. And the moral quandary that results from this decision. Does that seem like a good summary of the episode?
So Xena is John Wayne.
Xena is John Wayne. Little Vanessa / Pili is Natalie Wood from The Searchers. This entire plot is, lifted right out of The Searchers.
Yeah, for sure.
And Gabs is young, hot guy from The Searchers.
He's really hot.
Oh, throw coins in. The Searchers is really problematic. The Searchers is an American classic of Westernness. Yes, John Ford. It's a later John Ford.
Yeah, and it's a more troubling John Ford. The morals of it are not that clear cut. And we've talked about The Searchers before on the podcast because of that.
The Price?
No, Forgiven.
Oh, right.
That final shot of Forgiven, which is exactly from The Searchers, where your morally ambiguous character, either Xena or John Wayne, isn't allowed into the house of healing, into the family. Yeah. It's always the outsider. The Searchers is fucked up, because you spend the whole story going, oh, yeah, you got to rescue Natalie Wood. And then they find her and she's, married into the tribe. She's a part of it. She's been there for years at the point in the Searchers where they find her. And you expect it to be what it's been built up to be, which is they're going to rescue her. But instead, John Wayne sees that she doesn't belong to his people anymore and tries to murder her.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing moment. So, The Searchers is good.
It's very good just because of this, like, moral complexity.
Yeah. And isn't he, like, it's been a while since I've seen it, but it's one of those things where, like, your reading of the movie can differ vastly, where he's kind of, in my head, as a heroic American figure like John Wayne in this movie has that like Archie Bunker quality where it's like you're actually trying to like deconstruct some of these really horrible like racist issues, but then like if that's your worldview, you still see a hero, like you still see like your representative. So it's like a little bit more complicated than earlier John Ford Western.
Yeah, it really is like this kind of deconstruction of what John Wayne was as a cowboy. What is that outsider figure? And what values does he embody?
Yeah.
So, I think it's a really important movie for understanding kind of how the American Western was both romanticizing this idea of the Old West, but also on some level was grappling with race and genocide and all the things that were happening there.
So what's kind of interesting about this Xena, I feel like even though it's not super great as an episode and like dealing with like the moral quandaries that it has, is that it at least has a little bit more of police perspective, slightly.
Definitely more than in The Searchers.
But like, yeah, and like this is basically one of the oldest forms of sensationalist storytelling in America, which is like a captivity narrative. And you really don't get like a perspective like from the person who has been captive, I guess is the correct word. So that's kind of good. That's kind of a point in the episode's favor.
That is interesting.
Think. You know what I mean? Like a lot of it is like written by men being horrible and saying all the horrible things that they want to say about Native Americans.
I do like that this episode acknowledges that like her situation kind of sucks. She's never going to belong in either place. You feel there's a certain conflict. Like, I guess this is why I had such a problem with the ending of the episode where she's like, you're gonna get joint custody of me.
Well, that's why it's like not a great episode, because it's such a complicated topic, especially since they're very directly referencing these stories that like, I don't know, there's no pat answer like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just very like, okay.
Well, it kind of that part, I mean, like, I guess we are just talking about this episode in this way, but it's talking about the ending. That reminded me of Persephone because it wasn't a win-win for either party,
But my frustration with any telling of the Persephone story is she gets almost like no agency in it. It's all these people bargaining over her. The only thing she gets to do is eat a pomegranate seed.
Right, but I mean, like, so you're talking about like the parental problem here. Like the joint custody isn't like the girl wants specifically joint custody.
She does. She says, "I'll see you later."
Because they needed to end the episode.
This
is how it bridges.
solution.
Xena made her like fix everything, and this is her solution. But her true dad now is Cervix.
Yeah, Cervix.
Oh, but that is not his name.
Cervix, the Pomira chieftain. I feel like she definitely is like closer to him at this point than she is to her real parents. While she can establish like a relationship with the parents, I feel like it'll forever be like two dads kind of thing for sure.
Her Greek dad is dark and raw, and he seems kind of shitty.
It's because he has Hugo Weaving's face.
And the only other representative of her town who literally says, like, welcome to civilization to her is Milo. So it's like, which
he's
of these...
not from her town. He's just like a dick who hates the horde and is like...
Well, he certainly hangs out in her town.
Yeah, because he sells their pelts.
Yeah. But, that if your choice is between that and what you see of Pomira, like that... it's an obvious choice. There's never any doubt in my mind that she just would go back to the guy who loves her, like, unconditionally, versus these parents, like, in the town who are really messed up about her and have these weird expectations and want to put her in the blue dress of domesticity.
Our old friend from episode 2.
And this is why it's a throwback to
Holy shit.
old Xena's. How old is Natalie Wood supposed to be in The Searchers?
She's kidnapped she's a little kid when she's kidnapped and then recast as Natalie Wood because it takes them like 10 years to find her in The Searchers.
I was going to say that this episode is like more believable because, like, you know, you're supposed to believe that this little girl, like, she completely even, like, lost her language ability because she's been with the Horde so long since she was, like, a little girl.
6 years.
Right, but, like, Natalie, I'm like, she's a grown-ass woman. She was just kidnapped yesterday. Like, I didn't quite believe it in the movie that she was fully integrated. Because I don't know if they wanted to go.
They didn't want you to believe she was fully integrated. They were one of the interesting things about The Searchers is it does want you to root for her return to her family.
Right. So that's why I think that's actually a point for this episode because I saw this girl and I was like, she's perfectly happy here in this, you know, her new home. And the fact that she's, I mean, okay, guys, like, she was a daughter here. She wasn't, like, a wife, you know. That's the difference.
Yeah, and I was so worried, because during that scene where you first see her, when Xena sneaks into the Horde's little
she has her
cave,
John Wayne eyes all peering at her.
Oh, my God. But, like, you see Vanessa / Pili flirting with Cervic, and at the time I was like, dad or boyfriend, please be dad, please be dad.
It was dad. He had a little toy, right? So that was like supposed to be kind of parallel with her.
Yeah,
with
but he
Kara,
was, like, you know, he was sort of teasing her, and it was just hard to know.
Yep, you never know. Wow. So this episode, we sort of mentioned it starts with a flashback.
Yes.
I thought it was really interesting because I was like, oh, Xena's just having another one of her flashbacks. You know, she just randomly has them at this point. You know, today it's the Horde.
Well, it started from a concussion, so maybe she's got some lingering effects, some flashbacking effects.
After her, like, scary flashback, I do love that bit of Gabrielle and Xena by the tree because, again, Gabrielle is doing that excessively long arm touch that goes from top to elbow.
She's getting used to this post-flashback care, like the aftercare.
She can sense when Xena's having a flashback now.
And they talk about the price because they've been watching Xena Warrior Princess,
yeah.
the show, and, like, remind us of that episode. And it's interesting because Xena kind of, in this moment where you think that there was, like, a bigger takeaway at the end of the price, but here she's like, I don't know, I know Kaltaka.
That's actually
like,
a legitimately amazing point to
Yeah.
make because you can't fix racism in one episode like that.
She was horribly traumatized by the experience that we see the flashback to.
All right, that was such a shitty flashback and representation of her trauma that I hated it. And I still don't really believe that the Horde really decimated her army, like, so much that she's so fully forever.
Right.
Well, it's interesting, too, because the depiction of the Horde / Pomira is so different in this episode. They're not scary here at all. They're literally the opposite of scary. So remembering, Xena's trauma with them, it's kind of brain-busting now, because it's hard to see these guys as this, you know, other that just like came in, and are they even people?
Well,
like all those beats.
You saw them do scalping, and that's like immediately.
You saw Milo do scalping.
No, there's a Horde guy who did a scalping in the flashback.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and there was the flashback was visualized pretty cool too. They had like fire transitions.
Oh yeah, these like weird white flashes.
It was fire, but like. Again, it
was cool.
I don't know. I would have preferred like Xena, you know, like cocky Xena from Crab Woman episode. You can see that woman being like, I can take on these like, you know, savages and then like be totally decimated. because she doesn't know what she's doing.
And,
like
yeah,
with
just
this.
shocked.
Yeah,
Right,
like
yeah.
that would have worked. I don't know. The fact that like she just was wearing her outfit for the day, and they were like, let's just film this flashback. Like,
Yeah.
it was weird.
It was really weird. Her hair is the same. It's just so, like, what? That's why I was like, did this happen last week? What's
Yeah.
going on?
That's
like,
a very good point.
Yeah.
That I wasn't thinking about that at all, and that is very, confusing.
I do like when she decides, oh shit, my guy I just killed is right. This is a bad situation.
And it was like
1 minute
30
later.
seconds later.
Yeah.
She like looked around and was like, oh, all right, retreat.
She does some good mouth acting there. There's a lot of the kind of like bite the lip of like, ooh, this is awkward. I've made a big mistake.
Oh, but back to Gabrielle and Xena by the tree having their talk. There is an exchange in here that I just really love because it kind of to me is indicative of how they both see these things about Xena all the time, where, Xena explains what happened to Gabrielle in the flashback, and Gabrielle says, that was a lifetime ago, and Xena says, it feels like yesterday. Because that's just how it is for both of them all the time. Like, Gabrielle just sees this new, like, again, the two Xenas, but, like, her Xena, like, it is a new life. And that stuff is way in the past.
Yeah,
but for
that's
Xena,
like a legend a story that she hears sometimes,
yeah,
right?
but for Xena, it's yesterday, she says.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, all this stuff is always right there.
Yeah.
Right, and
Which is
also
funny.
she's wearing her outfit from yesterday.
We're about to have Milo come in being like, history repeats. And Xena's like, no, it's done.
Oh, let's talk about Milo. Well, he's the worst.
He's 100% the worst. And not even like in a fun way.
Oh.
Not even for me like in an actual scary, like if this were John Wayne came in from the searchers being like, this is what I do, I'd be like, whoa, Xena versus John Wayne, fuck yeah. But this guy is no John Wayne.
I think he was supposed to be, like, he reminded me of, what's his face in the episode where Xena puts wine in her eyes and goes blind.
Oh,
Pompey. Like, not Pompey. But, like, where he's like, I'm a blonde, young, well, I don't even know how young this guy is.
this guy looks like Steve Buscemi.
Yes, we already had an actor who looked like Steve Buscemi on this show. But it's not him.
It wasn't this guy.
Yeah, he was like a mix of that guy and then that guy
he's so
from...
weaselly.
Remember that guy who, like, had the crazy armor that, Agathon?
Yes, Agathon.
Like, just these terrible...
Right,
ugh.
he just, I don't know, it's partially a question of physicality. This guy just, I mean, I can totally believe him as someone who creeps up on people unawares and then scalps them and just does like really underhanded techniques. He's not
Okay.
like a great warrior.
But he, like,
I don't-
almost best Xena.
Yeah, that is just when this episode broke for me because I was just like, "What? This
Yeah.
should not be such a rager of a
Yeah.
fight." That
Like,
this
do you-
guy is literally in my notes. Whenever I write about him, I'm like, "Milo, comma the worst." Like that's who this guy is.
Yeah, he's really, really
He doesn't
terrible.
deserve to be taken out in this giant battle with Xena. That maybe John Wayne would, but not Milo.
Can we talk about Xena's terrible lines, which she has so many of them in this episode?
Yes, we can.
So the first one is in the flashback where that guy's like, retreat, retreat, oh my god, they're gonna kill us all. And she's like, not you, they won't. And then stabs him. I thought that was really bad.
I didn't mind that one so much.
No.
I was surprised by it because I didn't realize it was 10
That was-
years ago.
that was 6
so
years
I was
ago.
like, holy shit, Xena just killed a
Oh
guy.
gosh. And then
The next one is
Milo.
pretty special.
Oh my god. When he appears and he like almost he's trying to scalp like the Horde members. And she grabs him by the hair and goes, "It's a lovely day for scalping."
I don't know about this one.
What?
I don't know.
I'm
Xena.
gonna throw a coin in for it.
That made no
I
sense.
did not care for this.
I just feel like, this episode it's how Xena's always engaging with other movies, and obviously here it's really doing lots of westerns and stuff, but I really feel like maybe this particular storyline is like really off-putting in this show.
I don't know. I mean, this is maybe an issue when you have a first-time writer coming in and trying to, like, put their stamp on the character. But, like, a lot of this stuff, like Xena's interaction with Milo, it didn't quite feel like Xena. Like, I get that probably her line here about scalping is just swagger. But at the same time, it was gross swagger.
Right.
And a lot of her behavior around Milo is kind of plugging into Milo's kind of rhetoric, and that's not usually how Xena rolls with people. She doesn't like be gross with them, like meeting them at their level. Like I just found that, even though it turns out later that a lot of that is her trying to manipulate him, it just didn't read to me as the character, and
that makes
was bothersome.
Do you have any more?
You have more lines, Vera? More Xena lines?
Maybe later.
Maybe later.
All right, saving them for put a pin in it.
I don't know.
But like also at the same time here, they see right before all this is when Gabrielle and Xena, they're like in the grass staring and they see the horde.
Right.
And like Gabrielle points out that there's a blonde horde girl. And then Xena very inexplicably is like, I recognize her.
Yeah, she looks familiar.
Which was interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she drops like a little, well, it turns out to be a sling. I thought it was like she drops a belt.
What is
I thought
that?
it was a belt also.
No, it's a sling, like like David and Goliath sling.
Oh, okay.
Like a sling.
And it's of Roman make.
Right,
Which is
yeah.
interesting that Xena has Roman stuff in her army circa 10 years ago.
I mean, I believe it if she, fought some Caesar's men once in
It's
a
like,
while.
I stole this sling. I'll give it to this little girl.
Yeah. So Xena tells Raul and Adia, what's her name? That's like the Sarah McLachlan song.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I have it written down in my notes. So
I'm just gonna call her that.
I feel
'cause
like
Sarah
they
McLachlan
never
calls
call
that.
her by name.
They kind of say
anyway.
like Adya.
Oh, right. Okay. So Dark and Raul and Adia are now told that their daughter, who they thought has been dead, is alive, and Xena on Gabrielle's like behest is like, yep, we'll go and get her.
Yeah, and Gabrielle's very enthusiastic and insistent about it, and like really making promises. And Xena, you can tell, is already like, yeah, okay, yep. But can tell that, Gabrielle maybe shouldn't be making such grand statements.
I thought this was interesting. It was interesting to have Gabrielle, it's clearly so much molded by her own issues, her own need to, she keeps saying the place for a child is in her mother's arms.
Yeah.
These lines that smack of some post-traumatic hope syndrome. And, like, I like that. I like that Gabrielle maybe isn't seeing this situation as clearly as Xena. Like, she's obviously, as always, the voice of a certain, like, compassion. But you see, kind of like in the whole Rift arc, where sometimes a devotion to a compassionate stance is kind of, like, not necessarily seeing things clearly. She can't see things from the Horde's perspective at this point in the story.
Well, Xena's main fear is that doing this mission will create a giant war.
Right.
Yeah.
And you obviously can see where Gabrielle is coming from, because these parents had their daughter vanish when she was 6 years old or whatever it was they said. So obviously you'd think that the right thing to do would be to go get her and bring her back.
Meanwhile, we know that this is probably not the way to go, because Milo is there being like, oh yeah, we're gonna fight the Horde. The only good Horde is a dead Horde.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Words
So
to
here we are.
live by. And then Xena has a line for you, Vera. Words to die by.
He said that she said that in the past.
Right, he's quoting Xena with that.
'Cause
The only
he's a
good
history
Horde is a dead
buff.
Horde.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's grammatically correct.
That's the Starship Troopers line. The only good bug is a dead bug.
Which is a historical quote. A Union Civil War soldier.
Oh shit, great.
Named Philip Sheridan.
Reaching for
so
some coins.
It is exactly within the universe of what this story is talking about. And he said the only good Indian is a dead Indian, which then I believe was made more popular by Theodore Roosevelt, who said, I wouldn't
Coin
go so,
for Theodore Roosevelt.
I wouldn't go so far as to say the only good Indian is a dead Indian, but 9 out of 10 are. So I really,
So he's going 1/10 less far. Great, Jenny, great.
Like, obviously these are a lot of very uncomfortable topics, and to have that sentiment attributed to
Xena.
Xena is just, it's painful. But you know that
But
this
she
is obviously
was very
part
racist
of
in the price.
the past.
She was indeed
like,
very
you know,
racist.
And she has since, what did you say that is the line that she says?
The only
Words to
good
die by.
horde is a dead
No.
horde. Oh, yes.
No, I know that one.
Words to live by, says Milo. And then Xena's like, words to die by.
Okay.
She knows Keltaka now, guys. It's all good.
Yeah.
Racism is fixed.
I mean, no, but that's the thing. She's like, it's not. And that's what I think is really
and
good.
she's afraid of the horde. She's
Yes.
afraid of
She's very afraid.
the clash that would happen.
Yeah.
She kind of has their measure, I think, maybe because of her experience and the price she gets. Like, these are, you know, warriors, and I don't want to run afoul of them because they have this code and they will fight me.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a cool moment in here when Xena is talking to Vanessa's parents, and I wish there had been more of this in the episode. The second Xena shows up, Adia assumes she's there recruiting for an army.
Oh,
Because
right,
yeah.
Xena has this past with Rawl, and it's like, no, like, Adia's like, no, Xena, like, you know, he doesn't do that stuff anymore. And I thought that was such a cool character beat that we've never quite had in the show.
Yeah.
Like a former lieutenant who's kind of gone straight and is afraid Xena's back to tempt him. That could have been a part. Like, I thought this Rawl character was such a throwaway. He's so obvious and like not nuanced. And this little moment, I think, for me, could have been like a whole subplot.
Did you like the mom character?
I mean, for me, she was definitely such a stereotype that, you know, we hear she's a great healer. And of course, she's able to see, you know, her daughter
Just wants what's best.
in Pali when she is so loving and so reasonable. And then it's contrasted with this aggressive, masculine unreasonableness. And it just was very broad strokes for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this whole episode was.
Yeah.
There was a really great moment in when they're tracking the horde on their way to get the girl, where you see Xena's like fear. I always really like when she's like freaked out by the horde, and this was a really like legitimate moment where Gabrielle steps on a twig and like she's like, oh my god. And
I
then,
liked this sequence.
They have to like Katniss their way into the trees.
Really quiet, and then you like pan up to them in the tree.
Yeah, that was nice, the reveal of
Yeah.
them. That worked really
That
well,
was
I
cool.
thought. That was a good little piece of directing there.
The only good piece. Yeah, and then that's how she spots that like the horde live underground, and that's how they manage to be creepy and appear and disappear randomly.
So Xena has this great idea, which is to infiltrate the cave that the horde live in by dressing up as a hordeman.
Now, Katie, you pointed out that she surely got this disguise together really quickly.
Yeah, like how? I'm just curious. I mean, I'm not saying that it's a horrible idea per se.
It works. She definitely gets Vanessa out of there.
You know, but yeah, like where did they get all this stuff so quickly? Like, did she knock someone out and steal their shit? What happened?
We don't know. So inside the cave, Xena is like, whoa, these are just people hanging out. They're like,
But
they
she
have
doesn't
their
even play
kids.
that beat.
Well, she's kind of
do you
just
feel
staring,
that?
honestly.
Yeah,
like, I
she's
feel like
staring.
she's like just staring and taking it in.
I feel like she's like searching for Vanessa.
Yeah.
I wish there had been a little bit more of a beat of, oh wow, like I'm suddenly in the middle of this society and there's a lot going on here.
But I mean, even that, like,
that
that was the
with-
first time she's seen all that stuff.
Yeah.
Though. Like, there were kids
That's
like
true.
running around.
Yeah.
You know, there was
And
like
women. Yeah.
and there was like the annoying guy who was like Keltaka, bitch.
Oh my god,
Like,
that was so funny. That good thing she knew
The
that
one word she knew.
Yeah.
I always said that. I was like, phew.
Oh, all these guys want to talk about is Caltaka.
she would have figured it out if he gave her like the skin, you know. She would have been like, "Oh, I guess he wants this refilled."
But yeah, that is a good point. But you only kind of get a more memorable version of what you're talking about when she's listening to Cervic.
Yeah.
Being upset about them taking.
There you see that she understands, oh, like this, like I've just done exactly what was done in the past, which is I've taken a child away from her parent.
Well, I think I translated it as like like, oh, this is a little bit more complicated than what I thought it was.
Oh, I made a huge mistake.
But yeah, there was another really interesting moment where she kind of confronts, or she follows Vanessa like to the underground waterfall that they get their water from, and Vanessa starts screaming when she's like, "You're coming with me, little girl," and Xena has to like pinch her vocal cords.
Oh yeah.
Right, we've
really
never
cool.
seen that done.
Yeah, it was just like an intense moment.
And yeah, immediately makes you kind of feel gross about Xena. Like, Xena's putting the pinch on this child.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not like the
in
pinch.
fear.
She's not dead.
A pinch.
Yeah, but it was a little bit of violence, towards this kid.
What did you think of the chase through the underground caves?
Oh, that's it. She says, I hate small spaces.
Yeah, what?
I'm like, that's not a thing.
That's
right?
not canon.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like canon at all.
We've seen her in a lot of small spaces.
It seemed like they wanted her to be like, I hate snakes or something. You know what I mean? Like, just say something. And that was like what you would say in a tunnel.
If it had been rats, I would have been like, oh yeah, we know she
Right,
hates rats.
yeah.
Yeah, there
that
you
would be a
go.
fun callback. They didn't watch the previous episodes, maybe.
No.
She doesn't hate small spaces.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
sorry, guys. She just doesn't.
it was a long and extensive chase. I like that Cervic almost catches up to them. She has to like catch a axe like right in front of her face.
That was pretty cool. Yeah. I
Yeah.
liked that part where it's almost like, the like chase from aliens through the like vents. That's what that felt like to me. And like that was believable. I think it took too long for it to get there. Like there's this preamble chase where they're just kind of running through rocky hallways, and I was like, this is not exciting.
Right.
But then when they finally get into that little tunnel, that was shot really cool, and yeah, I was a little worried.
And I like that it turns out that all of this was improv because the girl freaked out and Xena had to change her plan.
Right.
So like they kind of tunnel their way. Like she takes the axe and digs them out.
Right, and it looks like a lot of effort, which
Yeah.
we don't usually see from Xena. Her
Yeah.
just like chopping away at this
Right,
and like
yeah.
really sweating to like get themselves out. Usually she just like cut something with the chakra and there would be a convenient landslide.
Well, she conveniently made a rock.
She
slide
did.
in
She
there.
did do that.
So-
Yeah, but it was
yeah.
nice to actually see her working for
Yeah.
their escape.
And it was funny to see her kind of surprise Gabrielle there. 'Cause
Yeah.
they popped up right
Oh,
behind
yeah.
her.
I love how freaked out she is for a second by Xena, because I guess she's forgotten that Xena's dressed as somebody from the Horde.
Yeah.
She kind of does her like little soft voice, being like, "Oh, Xena."
Yeah, so Gabrielle is tasked with taking Vanessa back, and then Xena makes some kind of diversion trail so that the Horde will go a different way. And that's when she
That's when
hears...
she hears that
the screaming,
Cervic is
yeah.
really, really
Yeah.
in pain,
And I did like that lingering shot of her face watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she knows the screams of a parent who's suddenly without their child.
Jeez.
That is very something she can relate to. So yeah, the scene with Gabs leveling with Vanessa, who here introduces herself as Pali.
Yes. May I just say that earlier, like when they're, running around in the woods before and also now, that Gabrielle just looks really beautiful in the moonlight. Like there's something going on with the lighting and it's good. That's all.
Good observation.
Good comment.
Thanks.
I liked her slight little dabbling with racism here, where she's like, "Oh my God, you can talk."
Wow.
Yikes.
Is this where
Yeah.
she's like by the river, kind of like in on her knees? Vanessa, this is the scene?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So she was like, "What are you doing?" To her, and Vanessa sort of explains that she's like honoring the river.
Yeah, she explains the Pomira life philosophy, which is very much like this idea of, endowing nature with a spirit. Mm-hmm. And little Pali kind of gets on her soapbox and tells us what we should think about this whole conflict.
Right. This is kind of what I was saying. Like, I did appreciate
Yeah.
at least the perspective. And then also, this is the scene where you find out episode title that what Xena and Gabrielle had been referring to as the Horde is a group of people called the Pomira.
who have this nice relationship with nature, unlike the Greeks who just knock it down,
Oh, man.
take their trees, kill their animals,
That's what Avatar's about.
and kills
Oh,
them.
jeez.
Yeah, great.
Great.
Putting a coin in for mentions of Avatar.
There's just no way to not be awkward about any of this. Oh, boy.
Yeah, but even this to me was a little bit like, you know, the preachiness was eye-rolly because, like, you know, this is now getting into more of, like, another damaging trope, which is the noble savage. You know, the fact that now we're being told, actually, the Horde are the Pomira and they're saints who love animals and trees and I've only gotten into conflicts with other people because they're like on their land,
Which does not really mesh with
anything from the price.
previously.
But then again, we ourselves were questioning the nature of what the Athenians were saying about them in the price.
So
we thought
maybe
they might have been on Pomira land.
We did say that.
Yeah, because
I take back what I just said.
Based on that movie.
I prefer the ambiguity where these are two people, you know, like both, there are great Pomira warriors, there are great Greek warriors, and they fight each other. And, you know, these conflicts aren't so black and white as, oh, those are the bad guys because they, like, fucking kill small animals and we love the animals. Like, it's just so, to me, like...
Did you say they fuck and kill small animals?
That's what it sounded like a little bit, but like
Is that what the Greeks are up to?
That's what the Greeks are up to, Vera.
I mean, like, you know, sometimes
Sometimes they do.
taking shape.
Okay, yes.
But yeah, just the fact that this conflict is now being redrawn as something really black and white, you know, as a way of kind of making up for the mistakes of the past. Like, it's saying, actually, these guys are the greatest, and
It's not very nuanced.
it's very much like no ambiguity whatsoever.
And I can't purport to know, like, you know, really speak very intellectually about a lot of these issues. It kind of just feels like, you know, the writers of this episode watched Disney's Pocahontas.
Yeah.
And then wrote this. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, it's not...
Yeah, no,
very
Police
deep.
basically singing Colors of the Wind here.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what is happening, kind of.
So then Xena and Gabs have this private talk. And this was surprising to me because I kind of thought after Gabs had talked to Pili that she would be less on board with the plan to return her to her parents because she just heard her talking about how great Pomira is. But Gabs is like even more on board with it.
Yeah, she sticks with it for a very long time.
Yeah, that just took me by surprise. I thought actually they were kind of gonna almost like switch roles. Gabs would be like, okay, I've talked to her now, Xena, and I think this is a bad idea. But I guess that wouldn't have worked for the plot because then Xena would be like, yeah, I just heard her dad crying in grief and anguish, and maybe we should not do this.
Yeah.
So somebody's got to still be on board the returning Vanessa to parents plan, even though it already doesn't seem like a great idea for either Gabs or Xena to be advocating this.
When is it? Sorry, this is probably jumping ahead, but we find out that that Cervic kidnapped her because his daughter died.
Yeah.
And that is not a good thing to do.
No, you don't kidnap other babies
you
to
cannot
replace
do
your
that.
baby. Yeah. But we don't really know the
Yeah.
circumstances.
Don't
We
know
don't
the
quite know
circumstances.
how she ended up like in
Yeah.
Pomira control. Like it's all a little, you know, they don't
Well,
fill
he
in
was
the
like
gaps
the
with this.
dad was like she was playing in the yard.
Oh, is
Basically.
that what he says?
Yeah, she was out. Yeah, he was like she was outside and then she was gone.
Oh, I totally missed that. I
Yeah.
thought it happened in some kind of skirmish.
Yeah. I kind of that's what I'm a little. I kind of wish that it was an actual tactic.
Yeah.
Oh, some kind of strategy, which is what hostages usually are, right? They're like
you take them in a battle.
Yeah, so I was kind of like, ooh, with the explanation for her being kidnapped.
So I kind of like that because that does, you know, give it some nuance. The idea that there has actually been bad behavior on both sides and that this is a conflict where there is no right and wrong. I do feel like this episode is working overtime in a way to prove that Cervic is a nice guy who means the best, you know.
Right. Oh, yeah, so that complicates it.
That would complicate it if they'd kind of fleshed that out a little bit.
Well, we like that. We like having 3D characters.
Yeah, that's
totally.
what we're in favor of here. I think, you know, it's just too easy. Like when you're talking about such a complicated topic as race, you can't just be like, well, those are the goods and these are the bads, the end. Like, just doesn't work.
Right.
It's not a useful paradigm.
Well, we know Milo is the bads always. So.
Oh, Milo.
Yeah. Milo
Absolutely.
is the bad. So what happens when they reunite Vanessa with her parents?
She reacts strongly.
She scratches Rawls' face.
Yeah. It was, I mean, I think that was a natural reaction for her. Rawl immediately is like, nope, she's gone.
I mean, I found this to be an odd reaction to the situation. He hasn't seen his daughter, who he thought was dead, for 6 years, and he's going to take 5 seconds and be like, no?
Yeah.
I mean...
It was so outrageous to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, that's not what you would do,
Yeah,
I feel.
Maybe
I
this
sort of
episode-
believe it.
I don't know.
Honestly, like, the ambition of this episode is huge, and, like, I think it's really just too much. It's too much for 40 minutes. Like, I can totally see almost the opposite character arc for this guy, where he's so overjoyed to have her back, and at first is willing to overlook, you know, the differences and what he remembers, and then having it later explode on him in a way where he's just like, no, this isn't my daughter. But to have his first reaction, that, to me, it just, again, it's just so
Would you
unnuanced as a character reaction.
Would you have preferred an entire like 3-season arc for
About
this?
Vanessa?
Because that is 7 of 9 on Star Trek Voyager.
Vera is always telling me that I should be watching the 7 of 9 arc.
7 of 9 is Vanessa here.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds fucking
except
great.
the Horde is the Borg.
It's a very rich story, and yeah, I mean, that seems like a great example of a version of this story that is told from the perspective of the quote-unquote captive.
Yeah.
You know, this person caught between, like, two different selves. I think that's a really interesting story, and yeah, like, the glimpses of interest in this one are really good. Like, I do love that moment coming up where Vanessa has the sword and the doll, and
Yeah.
seems to be, like, deciding which one is going to be
right.
who she is. So now Xena does something that, like, at first you're like, holy shit, what? Which is that you see her in this tavern, like, rallying the men of this town with all this racist rhetoric about wiping the Horde off the face of the earth. Mm-hmm. And Milo's just sitting there going, marry me. He literally
I was
says
like,
that.
yeah.
She's the worst.
Doesn't she go, she's back?
There's
Oh, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
as
later.
if,
Yeah,
as
like
if he
that-
fucking knows her.
Yeah,
You know?
and it's such a, like, poltergeist line.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Yeah, see, this would have worked better if it had been Rawl, you know, her lieutenant who does know her. Like, the whole way this episode works doesn't make any sense. Like, you sort of have these, like, flirtations with past Xena, which are just total fake outs. But you also have this character who seemingly knew her as her past self. So, I don't know. A lot of ideas here, and none of them are quite being, like, activated in convincing ways.
Here's a question. This guy, Rawl, I know his name's Darken Rawl, and we should suspect things about him, but, like, he served in Xena's army, and Xena's army they were the bads.
Yeah. He might have been just soldier.
Are you saying he was just following orders?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. But, like, I feel like in this time period, you did have people that's what you do.
But they were always up to no
She
good.
did.
And
I guess.
there is no, you know, we don't even question it. We were like, oh, so he just served in her army and that's fine. He's like, whatever.
And now he's retired.
Maybe
Yeah.
he had a
Nice
change
wife.
of heart. We could follow his Rawl warrior prince,
I
the
mean,
television show.
like I said, Adia is like, oh, he's never going to go back to you, Xena. So there was something.
Yeah,
there was
something
some
happened.
kind of change. He went into retirement for a reason.
All right.
But we just,
But
I
there
don't
was
know.
a better way to
It's so
make
sketched
money.
in. Yeah. And also, he just sucks. He's a sucky guy in this episode. So
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of it. The morality behind this.
So the Horde are going to attack this walled city, and so Xena is like, you know, we know she's putting on a show, but she's like rallied all these like people to fight the Horde because it's going to be a big deal.
Meanwhile, Vanessa gets a makeover.
Right, into the blue dress of
Domesticity. And Rawl, who previously had been, like, super over the top with his, my Vanessa's gone! Like, she literally steps out from this screen with her face washed, and he's like, oh!
My Vanessa, she's back.
So bad. So annoying.
Yeah. So what do you think of her kind of, remembering a little bit of her previous life after she sees her doll, Carathrace?
I guess I preferred the version of this story where she really had made her choice, where she, I just feel like this was them trying to lay the groundwork for this joint custody idea, which is introduced at the end. And yeah, I even though I kind of like this moment, I'm grouchy about it because it seems so easy and obvious to be like, oh, she actually does remember and she does like being here.
Well, I don't know if she quote unquote likes being here. She literally tries to escape a little bit later.
She takes the doll with her.
But that's the thing. The fact that she takes the doll with her and the fact that she drops the doll and goes back for it, I think that's a really good moment. I think that it makes you want so much more about the idea of this. I was going to say this character. I was like, I don't really want more of this character.
Sorry,
but I
Vanessa.
like the idea of this kind of issue where she would remember after a while, whatever, she was 6. Yeah, she would maybe remember, her favorite doll. This was a big deal for her. And just kind of seeing something that was so important from her other life,
You know what it reminds me of, the way you're talking about it, is Gabrielle going back to Potadia and the little doll that she gives to Lilla.
Right.
This symbol of her past. And Gabs has, made a new life for herself somewhere else, basically rejected that home life and everything it represents. But even she has moments of nostalgia for it. There is something in Vanessa's story that's similar. Yeah. I guess, I'm okay with the doll if it's less, about making it okay. I have this divide in my identity, and I don't know how to resolve it. I feel like the episode's well, you just don't resolve it. She's both these people, the end. Whereas for me, I'm no, she would choose. She might, have a feel, but she'd choose.
It's a very complicated situation. And I think that as much as you hate the, dual custody situation, I think I like it. I don't know. I don't think that this person could ever be one or the other fully, especially now having been kind of thrown back into her, original life.
But I guess I see that as more of a thorny, tragic story, when you don't belong to either culture group. Whereas Xena's kind of entering into this very utopian idea that cultural exchange can get to this place where you can belong to both, and it's this great thing where, that's peace. And I mean, it's a nice idea, but I guess I just find it so unrealistic. And in Xena, which is often much more real about the way people behave, especially warlike people, I just, it felt a little too Hercules, maybe, where it's just this was a safe choice. It was so humanistic as to be just lazy rather than really engaging in what people are actually like.
I mean, they wanted to solve the Horde. Basically,
yeah, they definitely
wanted
did
to do that. Yeah.
Cool. So the fight with Milo.
Oh my god.
This is a big fight.
Do you remember how Najara almost killed Xena?
And that was cool.
Legit and
because that was a character who'd been built up and what seemed like her equal.
Yes. And now Milo does the same fucking thing and it's stupid.
I was at first when I was like, oh, they're gonna fight. Okay, knock his ass in the dirt, Xena, and move on with the story.
Yeah.
And then that turned into a 5-minute long epic battle, and I was just like, what? Why? Why is this a thing now?
Yeah.
And I don't know how you guys felt about that fake out at the end where they
want
you to think Milo killed Xena. I was like, just no way.
It made no sense. I wanted to be there on the day when they filmed it and the directing. I want to hear that discussion.
I guess it makes so little sense that my reaction to it was more oh, Xena was kind of bad. She killed this dumb guy.
I mean, it did seem like she felt bad that she was doing it in front of, I guess, Vera claims he didn't belong to that village, but I assume, his extended family were in there.
Okay, sure. I don't know. I just want Milo to have, been born from the dirt.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't know. It was a weird moment. It's rare to see Xena express any kind of remorse about a death in the battlefield, and for it to be over this guy,
I know.
Him,
yeah,
was,
I don't know.
I don't know. Just this again felt lazy to me. It felt like they needed a big bad for this episode. They knew they couldn't make it Cervic because that went against the moral of the story. So they have to have her fight horrible Milo who just doesn't feel like a villain. So the whole thing, it isn't really working.
Do you guys remember that line that was really funny where, I forget who says it, like, he hates Pomira, and Xena goes, Pomira hate him,
Oh,
and
no.
the rest of us.
Yeah,
And then she's
Xena.
like, it's a bad situation all around.
Xena.
Can I just point out, I don't exactly know where we are in the chain of events of, like, when Gabrielle and Xena are, like, hanging out on the, like, ramparts up there. But, again, I would just want to say that Gabrielle's hair is so golden in the sunlight up on those whatever.
You're starting to have a hard time in the season because
It's about to get shot.
Katie knows.
It's about to get shot.
I'm like writing down all the moments where the sun is glinting off it.
Katie's starting to really
So
have a hard
long
time.
and flowy and beautiful.
We're getting closer and closer.
Listen, it's cute later. God damn it. Fuck.
So, we're kind of at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Joint custody. Vanessa touches Rawls' scratch marks as a way of saying goodbye, which I thought was a nice
I just like
touch.
the face the little actress made in that moment. She's kind of like she felt bad. She scratched him. Like,
Like, oh yeah, you deserved it though.
She like almost killed them that one time she was
Right.
trying
There's
to
that
leave.
interesting.
That was
yeah.
one of the more interesting moments. Yeah, I think, these glimpses of a more
Yeah.
complicated story, where people aren't behaving like their best selves all the time. I also kind of hated the moral that, the Pomira show up to the city walls. They're not there to fight. They're there to negotiate. Like, I feel like this episode is sort of saying that the responsibility for making sure, like, this negotiation goes right, like, is a negotiation, not a war. It's on, like, the Pomira. They, like, have to be, like,
Yeah.
the, like, reasonable people here. And I didn't like that. I even
that's
thought
not
that was
good.
really obnoxious. Like, no, everybody should be, like,
The reasonable
responsible.
people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just, again, like, I don't know. This episode was treating these concepts, and it was all too simplified for my taste.
Well, okay, so it ends with this through line of how, Gabrielle was very, rah, we gotta take her back. And then they're talking towards the end where she's kind of getting confused about her ideas. And then the last thing of the episode is Xena being like, everything that happened was all because of you.
And that she means it in a nice way.
Yeah.
Because everything, turned out okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
another, like, I feel like if Steve Sears had written this, he'd have the same scene, except Gabs would be like, oh no, I caused a difficult situation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, who's right, who's wrong, I don't know. Whereas here Xena's able to turn to her and be like, yeah, you wanting to kidnap that little girl was right. Don't feel bad. Thumbs up.
She has 2 loving homes. Her parents know she's alive now. That is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Xena's not wrong. There's peace between us and the Pomira.
Oh boy.
Good job, Xena.
But I did like the little end beat where, like, Gabrielle's response to this was, and they call you the hero? Huh. And then Xena's like, you want to switch? You kick butt. I'll take notes. It was cute.
Yeah, it's cute, and it's the way they choreographed that with them kind of leaving the city, walking outside. That reminded me again of kind of an early season 1, season 2. Like the second Meleager episode also ends with them kind of walking out of town, joking about really dark shit, but joking. Yeah, so I thought that there was something very nostalgic about that closing shot. That's
Anyway,
the daughter of Pomira.
Yeah, not a big fan.
Here's the question, like, are episodes worse for you when they're trying to be good episodes or when they know they're bad episodes? Like,
I don't think this was
silly
trying to be
comedy. I
Of
thought
course,
this was trying to be
I think
good.
every
Oh my
episode is
God.
wanting to be good in a way. It could be good in different ways.
Yeah.
But
Some
like
are trying to
certainly none are trying to
entertain
be
you.
trash.
Yeah. I
on
guess like
purpose.
their objective is different just in that, yeah, some are like, I'm a funny episode and I'm trying to have a good time. And this one's
Yeah.
like, I'm about big issues. You
Yeah.
know, I'm trying to challenge the characters and make you think. And
Right.
it's like, no, you're not.
I'm just really curious, like, is this the writer's pitch, or was this something that, like, Rob had, that he was
I don't really
you
know.
can do this?
I haven't, as far as I know, we don't have
Because
an
you can see,
interview.
like, I can see somebody being like, the Horde, let's get into it and, like, find out that they're totally nice.
I mean, this whole show we've talked about so many times in the past is this huge reference to, you know, Chinese cinema, Western cinema, the particular movies that they're doing with like martial arts owe a lot to early Westerns. There's a huge thing. So absolutely, I think that the main people involved in making this show, if they got pitched, we're going to do The Searchers, they would be like, go, do it.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, it all feels very Xena. And yeah, even the moral quandary of it feels very Xena. I think that's why I'm so hard on it, is I'm like, it's doing things the show should be able to do well, but it's not doing them well.
It's not doing them well because it's like, it's very safe, but obviously, like, what is this show going to do that's dealing with these particular topics that is going to be satisfying? I don't know.
It's all, I mean, even in the price, we were throwing coins in the jar left and right. Like, this is, you know, it's not like there's a good way of approaching this story. In a way, it just seems like whatever you do, you know, it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
It's going to be...
Maybe just white people stop.
Yeah, white people stop.
Stop telling the stories. Yeah.
Well, we're done with it, and we will not see the horde ever again.
Yeah. Goodbye, Pomira, Vera.
Pomira bread. That's where I'm going to get my lunch from.
I didn't get it, but then I did get it after the fact.
I'm going to throw a coin in.
Put one in for me.
It's good soup, too.
So... we're done with this one.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for listening.
I mean, you know, they can't all be winners.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just tiny little trying period, and then we're in it again.
Sometimes
we're in it again, season 4. You know. All right, well, we are done, so you can follow us on all the things.
Yeah. XenaWarePodcast.com is our website. If you have never been there before, you should totally go there. It's pretty cool. There's lots of stuff there, including links to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/XenaWarePodcast. If you are interested in checking out our Lucy Lawless IMDb experience, which is for patrons only. It's super fun. You can also go from there to our Redbubble shop, where we have Xena Did It First merch available, and it's very, very cool, I have to say. Not biased or anything. What else? You can please check us out on Apple Podcasts, where you can rate and leave reviews. Then also you can listen to it literally wherever. Go ahead. Anywhere. Just as long as you're listening. That's great. Follow us on Instagram, Tumblr, and Facebook, Xena Warrior Podcast, and on Twitter at Xena Warrior Pod, where you get lots more commentary. That's it.
The power!
The passion!
The podcast!